Good morning, afternoon, wherever you guys are listening from. This is Christina, and I'm your host of the Great State Truth. We're waiting on a few other people to hop in from our group, the Crowley Case Fact versus Fiction. You're just going to have to excuse me for my scratchy voice today. Me and my 12-year-old tested positive for COVID, and so now me and all of the kids are out of school. We're all quarantined. So if you guys hear kids in the background, that is what's happening. Um, I got a full house. And hey, can you take that phone in there, please? Thank you. Full house, full of kids. Only two are positive. So I guess that's kind of a good thing. Trying to keep a good distance between me and the other kids so that way we can kind of step away, like hopefully they don't get anything. But anyways, um, so today, before I start off with the rest of the Hennen video, I wanted to introduce you guys to a product that I take. I also promote. I've been taking this for about a year and a half. It's an awesome product. If I didn't take it, I probably wouldn't even be out of my bed right now, honestly. It is an amazing product. And if any of you guys want any more information, let me know. I don't like cramming stuff down people's throat. I am a promoter. I don't do like everybody else does. Most of their posts on Facebook or Instagram are usually all about Thrive and other people's stories, and I don't like doing that. If I see somebody that's interested in trying to find something that'll help them, then I will give the suggestion. That's about it. Um, but anyway, so basically the Thrive experience, it's 3 steps. There's 2 capsules, a shake, and a patch. So you take the 2 capsules when you first get up in the morning. About 30 minutes later, you drink a shake. They're really good, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. And then you have a patch that you wear all day. And all of it is derived from plants. There is no um, bad chemicals or anything in it like that. It's all like a premium lifestyle type thing. So here's the capsules. You can either get women's or men's. I usually take the men's because I do have a little bit more of the green tea extract. What? Okay, you're gonna have to wait a minute. Um, Both of them have the green tea extract caffeine, but the men's does have a little bit more. And then, of course, you have your shake here, which is awesome. My 10-year-old son loves these shakes, and it's the only part of the Thrive that he can have. Um, and it doesn't have anything bad in it. He is autistic, as most of you guys know. And so when he started drinking these, he wasn't very talkative or anything. But since I started giving him some of the shake, it's helped a lot, and he's become talkative. So I don't know if it was vitamins that he was missing in his diet or what the heck. Hey, Leezy, I'm going over
Hi.
this. I'm going over Thrive real quick.
Okie dokie.
And so basically, you just get up, you take these 2 capsules, a shake, and a patch. And I've been on it for a year, and I've got to say, it's amazing. I don't really use it for weight loss. You can, and there's some products within the within the package that you can use to lose weight. I use it more of an energy and a mood stabilizer. It helps with weight management, mental acuity. And you have this all day because there's a patch that you wear that has all this stuff on it. So, anyways, if you guys want more information, just reach out and let me know, and I can send away. Um, anyway, so let's get into today's video. Let me get rid of this and pull up the rest of Dan's interview. I believe we started at about 44. We stopped at about 44 seconds last video. I
I
had to look
think
back.
so.
Yeah. But again, disregard my scratchy voice and coughing, and I think
You
we're all
sound okay.
I feel so stuffy. Like my whole head feels like it's just stuffed with paper towels or something. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if you had the same feeling, but it's like the headache isn't in your head; it's like in your eyes and your sinuses.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But um, yeah. So disregard my my sickness over here. All right, so let's start on. I believe Dan was talking about how he doesn't understand why people are trying to get his channel taken down or his page taken down. He doesn't quite grasp the concept of if you're, blaming people for stuff that's not true, they're going to come back and try to defend themselves. So, all right, let me
Yeah.
know.
And I don't know why he got his channel taken down, because he was covering quite a range of things from QAnon and COVID and all that sort of stuff as well, government stuff.
I know a lot of
So
the channels that are talking about COVID right now. Their videos are being blocked or taken down because of a lot of misinformation that gets out, I guess. And so I don't know. It's something that a lot of like people who do videos about COVID and stuff, they've been taken down for even saying the
yeah,
word. So,
yeah,
all right, let's continue.
Broke in and took them. We went back and busted them again by saying, here's the crime scene photos taken the day the bodies were discovered. There's not a TV in the house. These two didn't watch television. There was not a TV in the house. There was no big screen. There was no flat screen. So now our focus shifts over.
Yeah, there was a projector, and then they had several tablets. So, I mean,
and it's like knowing that it's going to be public knowledge that a crime has occurred there and the house is empty. So it could be things that were of sentimental value that they didn't want people, strangers, getting their hands on and putting it all over the place. It could be anything, or just common sense and peace of mind, really.
yeah.
Take out anything that's valuable. David had a lot of music equipment and things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not a big deal. There's a lot of people that don't have TVs nowadays because they don't watch them. I mean,
Yeah.
I know most of the time I'm on my phone or I'm on my computer. I think the kids are really the only ones who use the TVs, or if we're all watching a movie together. But most of the time we have a projector here. And if we're watching a movie together, we use the projector. We don't even use the TV. The kids use the TV for their Xbox and stuff. But I mean, my son busted a TV the other day, and it wasn't a big deal because we don't watch them like that. Like it's not. Now, if it was my computer or or one of the tablets or something like that, it's different. But not everybody has TVs nowadays, especially since people, most of their entertainment is online, and they don't really care to have any of that. What, son? Yeah, I've already forewarned everybody. I have 4 kids in the background, so. All right, let's continue.
To the gray state guys that are left living and saying, why are you inserting information into the story that's wrong? And so we started to take a look at that side. Were you guys involved with editing David Crowley's Facebook page? What's all behind this? Why are you looking at me to take my page down?
But why would you ask if they were editing his page? I mean,
exactly.
You have police who have electronic investigation. Like I believe we were talking about this last video that we did. You have electronic crime scene people who go in and take certain posts down or take the whole page down.
Or make it private.
Yeah, or they make it private. So because investigations are private, and we're talking about the early days of this case. We're not even talking about 7 years later. We're talking about days after. Is what Dan is talking about here. And like
it's an active investigation.
Yeah, he's he's supposed to get all this information in the beginning of an investigation, and that's not, that's not how it works. They don't
And
hear.
if it was being tampered with by anyone, the police, the Electronic Crimes Unit, are monitoring it.
Yeah, yeah. And if they thought anything was wrong, they're going to look at, well, who's deleting posts off of David's page. But clearly, it was probably the police who said, okay, well, we're looking at all these questionable posts and journals and things that David had to try to find a motive for what happened. They're actively, in these days, are actively searching for a motive. And so everything that David wrote, said, drank, ate, anything that he'd done leading up to the days that this happened is going to be part of the investigation, and nobody is going to have access to it other than the people who are dealing with the investigation. So, of course, they want this crap. I mean, he's clearly lying again, saying, "Oh, the Gray State guys, they're messing around with stuff." Like, where did you get that information at? Who even told you this? Is this just something you pulled out of your ass like you normally do?
Yeah.
Why do you want administrative rights on my page, on my Facebook page? There was no TVs in the house. Then the question came down to, how good of friends were you? And so we started getting somewhere when we found out that David was not good friends with any of these folks. He was co-workers, co-employees with them, worked with them on the team, worked on the project with them. Some he was better friends with, some he was.
But he just said he wasn't friends with any of them. So you you don't get it both ways, Dan. You either say they were good friends or they were acquaintances, but you don't get to say, oh, he wasn't friends with any of these guys, and then say, oh, well, he was better friends than this one than he was with this one, when you don't even know. Like, what you've seen through the eyes of the internet. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't know, what their relationship was like behind closed doors. You don't know what they did or what they talked about. Look at the conversations that David had with many of his friends. And he was asking about, what would it look like if there was a spiritual attack? Why would you ask some random person that?
Yeah.
Many people aren't going to throw out there freely, oh, I saw a ghost. Because they're going to think you're fucking nuts. But, David trusted these people that were his friends enough to say, what would it look like and what their thoughts on it was and things like that. So to say that these are guys aren't their friends, but yet David invites these guys over to his house. He, allows them to stay at his house when they don't have places to go. Brings them around for family functions, birthday parties. I know that I'm not going to invite some random asshole that I work with, to my kids' birthday party. I'm not going to do that. I mean, some people do just because they have bigger functions and they're like, the more the merrier. But I don't, in all honesty, I don't see, and this is just my opinion, David or Kamel being that type, especially around that time, since they said, they wanted to be alone at that time, but they still invited these people because they were friends and they were family and they were, David didn't learn all this stuff on his own. You can only learn so much in school.
Yeah.
You can go to film school. You can go to art school, but quirks and little ticks and things you do in your job, you're going to learn from other people that come around that have done it. Was it Mitch Hale who was the one who did a lot of the like production and stuff?
Yeah, Mitch and David went to film school together.
They went to film school together, so they both put their 2 cents into it.
They both had like Bullet Exchange and Hothead Productions. They were doing that together. But
David didn't do this by himself. He had help. No. He had help from everyone within that group. We have Danny August Mason, who was the actor, who brought his skill. We have We have Mr. Rolodex who brought the the people in, that
Yeah,
he knew.
you've got Adam Shambour doing like acting parts. You've got Kamel doing like little acting parts. You've got Mitch on the camera. You've got Mason Hendricks doing like photography and camera work and stuff. And yeah, David did do a lot of things as well, like with the score and stuff like that. It was team effort.
Yeah. Hey, oh, you're forgetting your co-producer, Ross, along with the other 500 co-producers. We'll get into that conversation. That's going to be a fun one.
It's not even worth it. It's not even worth giving him the airtime because he's nobody. He's just paid for a credit.
Well, he
to get a credit.
He was on one of their podcasts, I believe, the day before yesterday. I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but I know that it was like Jamie and Ross and William, just like the whole bunch over there. And I plan on going through that video too, because Sophia, if you've noticed the last few videos that they've done, Sophia just sounds really ticked off about everything.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want to say something because she knows it's going to get snarked on. And so she's like, I'm just tired. I'm just tired. All right, let's continue.
He was less friends with, but none were really his close friend.
How do you know this?
And so they kind of got stumped there by saying that they're how close of a family they were. Well, Comel was David's best friend. Everything he did, everything he thought, everything he did was with Comel, best friends. Mm-hmm. The group of the Gray State guys he was not that close with. He was close, but he kept it at arm's length from a business perspective. Now, these are the guys, all the men, by the way, these are the guys continually pushing this story, funneling this story of the dog eating everything, the body's there for 3 weeks, David committing the crimes, and how sad and grieving they were. Well, the next thing comes is this funeral, the funeral for David. I posted, I'm interested in going. I'd like to see how things turn out. I'd like to see the reaction. I'd like to see if the casket's open, closed.
You want to spy on people and judge them whilst they're grieving for 3 members of their family. And then you wonder why you're not invited and you're told specifically to stay away because you've made it clear that your intentions aren't to go and pay respect to David, Kamel and Rani. You are going to spy and nitpick and go, they're not grieving properly. They're smiling.
They're smiling. They're laughing.
They're reminiscing over something, a memory that they had and they shared with David, and now they're laughing.
Yeah, that's pathetic. Here, I'm going to invite myself to, a random guy's funeral just to go.
Let's face it, he just said he didn't know David. He'd never met David, didn't know anything about him. But here he is saying, I'd quite like to go to his funeral memorial. I'd quite like to go and have a look and see who are the shady characters. Then I can go back and put it all over my Facebook and YouTube.
Well, he literally just said, I want to go so I can see people's reactions. Like, who does that? Who goes to a funeral to see people's reactions? Like, what is wrong with you?
Not normal.
That is not normal. That is, people laugh.
It's not a genuine person, is it? It's not a genuine person going for genuine care, genuine, remorse and loss of this family that have died. You're going with an intention to judge people.
I've never heard of that in my 41 years of existence. That here I'm going to go to a funeral to sit back and readily write down Dan Jr. is laughing, Sean is crying, then he laughs, he turns his head, he coughs. Like, that's more than likely what Dan probably would have done. He would have sat there with his fucking notepad critiquing every laugh, cry, cough that these people did. And I don't blame anybody for not. And matter of fact, I would have got a damn restraining order from this guy.
Yeah.
That is nuts. That is some psychopathic activity right there.
I know.
That's weird, Dan. That's weird. That's just weird.
Family does, the interactions of everybody. And then I get a threat to say not show up at that memorial.
That's not a threat. That is, you're not welcome here. Don't come here. A threat
If you
would
come
be
here,
if you
you'll
come
be
here,
escorted away from the location immediately.
that is no, I'm genuinely telling you, don't show up. You're not wanted here. A threat is if you show up here, I'm gonna blow your fucking head off. That's a threat.
Yeah.
Okay. Not don't come here, you're not wanted. Like that's just a comment. You know, yeah, you could have shown up, but you would be escorted off the property. But
Yeah.
he's claiming threats. That's
Memorial service at all.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, I don't even know the guy. What do you care if I show up to memorial or not? Well, they didn't let me
You
go.
don't know the guy.
I wasn't interested in going anywhere. I didn't go. But we get a comment from one of the David Crowley's cousins who says, Dan, I want to add something to the justice page. I never saw a more group of happy, flippant, happy-go-lucky guys at a memorial than I did at David's funeral.
okay. So, Louise, you know about this more than I do. Tell us about this cousin.
There's not really anything to sort of say other than, there are, or it does appear that there are a couple of distant relatives, whether they are cousins or second cousins or whatever, like David's mum, she had a lot of brothers and sisters. Like, it's a big family.
So basically,
I don't know.
she would have been one that was just looking for attention. Like, here,
Yeah.
I know that these people have a page in this conspiracy stuff. I don't really get along with that side of the family, and so I'm going to nitpick, kind of like what Dan did, or Dan was going to do if he was there. I don't like them.
Pretty
so
much. I mean, if you like cared about your auntie or your uncle, the mother of like the person that has lost, if it is like if David's your cousin, then Kate and Dan would be your auntie and uncle. And if you gave two craps about them, why you would go running to a Facebook group? I mean, and I'm going to say, you can't criticize them for like having sort of concerns. Not, if they're distant family, they're not being kept in the loop of things. All they know is David has killed his wife and child and himself. And, the being in the state of shock and not wanting to believe that your cousin was capable of such a thing. I can understand them wanting to think somebody else did it, but that's something that should stay within the family and not go running to a bunch of strangers saying, look, well, I was there and this was weird. And, I can't say because I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened, but the decent thing to do in something like that would be that you speak to you speak to David's mum or dad or his brother or his sister, and you have a family conversation about what's been unfolding. But to just go straight public where you know that they're going to run with what you're saying is a bit of a shady thing to do.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that and the person could have been just because they were out of the loop and maybe they were just that cousin that nobody really talked to. They didn't have the information that they wanted and they didn't like it. And so, hey, I'm going to go with what I have, because nobody's telling me what's going on. I'm going to go out and, I'm going to help these people. So,
and there's nothing that is shown to sort of say that these things that Dan is saying were said or the context in which they were said or anything.
Yeah. It's just their actions. They were laughing or they were, they weren't acting like someone else would. Everybody grieves different, you know what I mean? And if you don't grieve the way somebody else does or the way society thinks you should grieve, it's
frowned upon.
Yeah, so let's see what she said.
She said no one was grieving.
No,
they were cracking jokes. They had looked to me, they said, the cousin said, like a 100-pound weight had been lifted from their back. They looked relieved that he was dead. I said, that's more of a direction I want to go in and pursue. That's no way to be saying you're grieving and then you're spending time on my Facebook page the very day that my Facebook page is.
Well, hell, I know people who have had somebody pass away, and they need an outlet to talk, or they need somebody to talk to because they're grieving, and they go on Facebook, they go on Instagram, or they, you know, find people to talk to because it calms people.
Yeah.
But like he said here, nobody was grieving. Like, how do you know that? Because somebody told you that? They were cracking jokes. I
Exactly.
can't tell you how many damn funerals I went to and we cracked jokes. You know, we
Well,
talk
they
about
were. It was. Wasn't it more of a celebration of life as
yeah,
well?
yeah,
So it's you're looking at things and you're reminiscing on like funny stories that happened. You know, that you all like. Some of you were privy to, some of you weren't privy to, but it's worth. You know, it's something nice, or it's a way to remember like the good qualities in somebody. It's not all. You know, it's not all sort of singing choir songs and grieving and hymns and prayers and things like that.
yeah,
Depends on what kind of funeral they had, and I'm sure that the close family, the immediate family, they would have all been sort of together, and then the distant family would have been sort of further afield, and the friends would have been like, you know, either sort of as a group of friends or
yeah.
intermittent with the family and stuff. It's again, it's a lot of speculation about something that none of us was there for. But there is that little clip of the memorial in the documentary where you can see that they've got like the displays and the
Yeah,
noteboards
it's
with
very.
like the
It doesn't
pictures and
look.
things. And
It doesn't look like your typical funeral. It's very bright. There was a lot of pictures and happy pictures around. You know, it wasn't like walking into a dark funeral home.
no,
A lot of funerals that I've been to, you know, that were very traditional funerals. My grandfather's was one that was very
mm,
traditional. You know, you didn't talk. You know, you just
yeah,
you mourned. You looked at the person that was deceased, and you didn't talk. You know, uh,
yeah,
but when you go outside or whatever, people are still alive. Like, just because this family member is dead or whatever doesn't mean that you stop living your life, or you stop remembering things, or stop having
yeah.
memories. Cracking jokes, I don't see anything wrong with that, honestly. I mean,
No, and a
my
lot of
opinion.
people they haven't like had a father. You know, they always say like you end up as you get older that family gatherings tend to become births, marriages, and funerals. So
Absolutely.
you could be seeing people that you've not seen for years,
Yeah.
and yes, it's a funeral, and you're not being disrespectful, but you can also laugh. There might be something that's memorable about the last time that everybody met up, and there was something funny that David, Kamal, or Ronnie, or all of
Yeah.
them did or said, or something. It's not
Yeah.
a crime to think of with fond memories and funny stories
Yep.
and little anecdotes at funerals. So again, it's blowing something way out of proportion.
No, I mean, that's their MO. That's what they do. They don't have any forensic evidence that they can say for 100% certainty that David is innocent. And so they have to find these little things, you know, how somebody
Mm,
acted at a funeral, or, you know, things that are completely irrelevant, that have nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, to
yeah,
try to make themselves look better.
yeah,
So, and Dan brings this all on himself, like the all this stuff that he's 100%. I know that this happened, and then when the information comes out later, he doesn't even say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got this wrong." He just
no,
continues on with the next nonsense. Like, he looks for the next thing that he can get attention off of.
Created, you're trying to take
yeah.
it down, and David's stuff is deleted off his Facebook page. I don't think anyone's grieving in this case. So she confirmed it.
What was apparent? What was deleted from his Facebook page?
I think there was just a
Like,
couple of posts that he'd said something. I think it was like "Don't fuck with an army veteran" or something like that. Um, and that was
So
sort of
basically,
hidden
posts
for a
that would
bit.
be questionable that would,
Yeah.
here, let's look and see if there's some kind of motive to this and try to put it together.
Yeah, or some backstory.
Right. Wow. I mean, David had a lot of posts, and I was actually going through some of them to try to see, like what would have been deleted.
Mm.
But, I don't know what was on there prior to. So.
Yeah.
And the cousin said that, no, there was jokes, there was smiles on the faces.
Wow.
And
We had to go back into the whole motive thing.
I would love to see Dan at a funeral or somebody at a funeral. One of them.
Yeah.
Just one of them. Because if they smile or laugh, I'm going to be like, oh, no, you're guilty. You did it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's pitiful.
And so what would be the motive for the Gray State guys to kill their own best friend, their buddy? And so it comes back all to this motion picture, this deal that David got. He signed a deal with some Hollywood producers for a $30 million budget film to make it. Now, that had not gone forward yet.
Right.
All David had was this script that he pitched, and they ended up biting on it.
Not
30
according
million. So
to
one could
Ross.
actually argue
According, there's a movie that's been made.
that the script itself on paper was really valued at $30 million. With David out of the way, could the remaining guys benefit from moving forward with the script? That's the only thing I could think of as a motive. But we had
But yet they left all of the stuff in the house. Knowing
And
that even if they did put it out, then David's name would still have to be put on it. Like, that's the clue they're not catching. Okay,
And the
everybody knows.
budget was for the whole film, for the whole film to be made. It wasn't that David was going to have
Yeah,
$30
the $30
million.
million, right? I mean, he doesn't get it. Okay, so even if it was, the Gray State guys want this movie, and so they knocked their friend off so they can take this movie. What are they going to gain from that? Because even if David is alive or if he's dead, his name is still going to be on that movie.
Yeah.
Whoever has, the rights to David's estate is going to get whatever that movie makes.
Exactly.
But, for him to say, oh, well, his so-called friends, knocked him off to get this movie, where does that make any sense in?
It doesn't.
I mean, it's not like David was getting that amount of money. So they wouldn't have gotten it either. The documents, the scripts, all of the stuff was still in the house. So it all goes into evidence.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that David's fingerprints are on this, or whatever. But like, where do you get a motive from that alone? Like, that makes no sense.
entertain that. We had to look into that. And what we found when we discovered the legal aspect of it and the correspondence going back from David's attorney back and forth is David wanted to get rid of two of his business buddies. One with the business that he sold and resold, refurbished, and used police equipment.
Right.
Bullet Exchange. He had a buddy named Mitch Heil that he ran a company called Bullet Exchange. A lot of people use it for props and things like that. He asked him to release his rights to move forward to moving with the Gray State. He wants to not work with these other folks. He asked him to sign away his rights. He sold the business, had a garage sale. That was done. The other guy he owned a business with was the script that he's writing with Danny August Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Danny August Mason was one in August of 2014, also received that letter saying, I don't want anything to do with you for this film. I'm going to move forward myself. You may have.
Hey, Louise.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody was making something and you had like a full hand in helping, like there's video proof that you're helping. Okay, you're putting your time, your effort, your skills into making a movie, and somebody sends you a letter and says, "Sorry, I'm going to move on without you. You haven't made a dime, but you've helped me get to where I'm at. I need you to sign your rights off." Are you going to sign your rights off?
No,
I mean,
no.
and that's
I've kind of helped you with this. I've put time in, effort in, resources. I've not done other jobs because I dedicated this time to helping you. And
yeah,
now you want to just cut me out completely and move forward and wipe me off the slate? I don't think so.
yeah. I
And if
wouldn't
you don't want
rather.
to work with me, then you can sell your share to
Yep,
me.
yep, absolutely. I mean, but as far as that being a motive to kill somebody,
Wouldn't mean
because
that I'm going to kill you now.
there's legal ways to go about that. Now,
Yeah.
if there was no legal way to go about it, and it was just
And
up in the
you
air.
would
Sorry,
say
you'll
also there'd be more of a motive then for David to want to kill Danny if he
Yes,
was that,
yes,
you know.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So you had that motive, and David even said it himself. Convert him to my cause, or what
Mm.
was the rest of it? Convert him to my cause, or something. But
Yeah, I know which one you mean. I'm just trying to think. Destroy Danny Mason or destroy him or convert him to the cause.
yeah,
His next actions or the universe will decide something like that.
yeah. So what was that? Was that a threat? Could David have if Danny in the end said, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna sign my rights over, or whatever." That's a
Yeah,
in a sense that's a threat.
yeah.
Destroy him, or convert him to my cause. It's just
Mm.
there was so much going on behind the scenes, but to say like, and even the
All the
conversation I had
sinister stuff is
yesterday.
written by David. It's not written by anyone else
Yeah,
making veiled threats and strange breakdowns of
yeah,
things. And it's surprising how people don't even want to be honest with themselves and go, yeah, I think I'd be a bit pissed off if somebody just said, right, I know you've been helping me with this for years, but
yeah,
yeah, basically, I'm done with you now. You can go. And the person that's been used is the one that's being called the bad guy.
yeah. I mean, and we know from yesterday's incident that there's a lot of toxicity when it comes to David and friendships and things like that.
Or
Um,
associations.
where the way they talk to each other or behind
Mm,
each other. You know what I mean? Like David in his
yeah.
journal, everybody was a charity case, and you know
Mm,
he talked bad about them, and likewise, I bet they talk bad about him behind his back as well. I mean, it's just that's the way it goes
yeah.
sometimes. People are toxic, and we know that a lot of that was going on from just David's journal and situations in general. Um,
Yeah.
Toxicity between him and some of those.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah, yeah. Here, answer that and tell Poppy I'm doing a video. I'll call him back in like 10 minutes. But yeah, it's a lot of toxicity.
Have a role as an actor in this movie, but I'm moving forward without you as a business partner.
Right.
Danny August Mason refused to sign that, and it took several months until the bodies were found. He never did sign that. That was the wedge that was being drawn. David and Danny August Mason were very close in creating this script, very close in opening up the minds of people, red pilling them to the conspiracies, the true ones that were going on, and they wanted to make this movie together. David wanted to move ahead without him and said, I want to produce this thing. It was later found out that David wouldn't have been the producer or the director at all. They would have gotten someone else in there. But he needed to release his rights from being co-business decision with Danny August Mason, and Danny didn't respond
didn't.
back. And when he did bug him a couple
The
months later,
Mikes have said
he
that
said,
they didn't have anything to do with that. The Mike
Yeah,
said, we don't know anything about that. We never asked that of David, or, we don't know anything about it. So that's a lie.
yeah. I mean, I
And
think
David
that's
didn't have the funds to produce it.
Yeah.
Or the contacts.
Yep. All of his
Call me
contacts,
boss.
his side work was from other people. You know, David put in his
Yeah.
skill. Everybody put in some kind of skill to this. And then after everybody's already used and washed up, David's like, "Oh, I'm going to take it all for myself now. You know, here I got to get rid
Yeah.
of this person and this person and this person in order to move forward." You know, and then
Mm.
the lies are thrown out. Like you said, the mics didn't even know about that. Like they didn't even know about the conversation being had. Oh, we're going to get rid of such and such because he's not going to direct or produce this movie anymore. I mean, to be honest, if that were true, David would have been pissed off because Gray State was, according to him, his thing. You know,
Yeah.
and for them to say, "Oh well, he's not going to produce this or anything," I don't see David allowing that to happen just because he was
Well,
so
that's why he walked away, I think.
exactly, and the email, like you have the time frame there between, um, you know, when the mics talked when they talked together and they talked about it being a series. And of course David's going to be like, "Oh okay, yeah, you know, I like that idea," just to get, okay, you know, I'm going
Mm.
to be nice to somebody because they're trying, you know. But in the back of your mind you're like, this is not what I really want to do, and so you're going to go off on your own behind their back and try to figure something else out. But you still want to
Mm.
have them on the back burner. That way, in case your idea doesn't work out, you still have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it looked like happened here. You have, you know, he has the mics that are, you know, wanting to do a series or of some sort, and then David doesn't really care for that idea, and so he starts reaching out to that Jason guy saying, "Hey man, you know what I need, you know what the great
Mm.
state is, you know what I wanted to do, you know my vision, blah blah blah." So David has his foot in kind of both doors. So that way if one doesn't work out and one falls behind, you have,
Yeah.
you know, you have this other thing that you can fall back on. And I think that both of them just, one wasn't responding and the other one wasn't giving him what he wanted. And so it would look
Yeah.
like you have people online that are saying, "Where's this movie that I donated to? Where's this, you know, where's it at? We want to see it." You know, we have conspiracy people here. These are not normal, everyday people that are just going to
Mm.
say, "Hey, man, well, you know, whenever you get it out, that's good." We're talking about conspiracy people here, like big time, you know,
Mm.
people that are like Alex
Wanted David to be the
Jones.
voice for them
Yeah,
and
I
their
mean,
movement.
they really believe this stuff, you know what I mean? And so they're wanting this to get out so that way they can show everybody up. You know, this is what's going to happen. Do you see this? Do you see, like, this is the type of people that David was working with, you know what I mean? Like, this
Yeah.
is this is the people that he was pitching it to. And when you get into that kind of crowd of people, those
Mm.
types of fans, and you don't do what they want you to do, they're going to have a conspiracy about you. "Oh, you're
Yeah.
just playing with our minds. You know, you're not going to do this. You're just
You've
playing
been
with
paid
us."
off.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it is. And it just, there's been plenty of people who have went down those rabbit holes that are into conspiracy and QAnon and New World Order stuff that have killed themselves because of how crooked it is.
Yeah.
You know, I could talk about a Gatorade bottle, and I could, you know, go through so many different things about a Gatorade bottle, and then start making little rabbit holes. Okay, well the aid on the end of it. What does that mean? Oh my God, does it mean that, you know, they use AIDS patients to make this? Like you can make
Mm.
it. You can make a rabbit hole out of anything.
Yeah.
Any story you can put rabbit holes in, and so, you know, it's, and that's what they've done. They've taken
Yeah.
a straightforward case and put their own twist on things to where so many rabbit holes have been made about this case now that they don't even know what they've said anymore.
No.
That I'm going to have my attorney look at it, and I'll get back to you later. It never ended up getting done. So the friction was there. Danny says, look, here's my buddy that I kind of took under my wing to teach him the ways, red pill him to waking up to the real deal, and now he wants to leave me behind and disbandon me on a $30 million deal. I think that's where the anger and whatnot came in. So he wasn't going to sign that. And so that all erupted. It was 7 years ago this month, 7 years ago. He was going to get him away from the business dealings in August, September, and October. And finally, November came, 2014, 7 years ago. He says, Danny, you need to, we got the emails. You need to sign that legal document so we can move on.
Danny's like, I don't need to do anything.
Right? I wouldn't either.
With the movie, the Gray State movie, the $30 million production is on, it's tabled. It's tabled. We can't.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
They pressed pause. We can't do anything until this document is signed and returned so I can move forward with.
But yet the Mikes never heard anything about that.
No.
Right? Never heard anything about that conversation, but yet David told Danny this is on pause until you sign over your rights.
He refused to sign it. And so in the third week of November, right about where we are now, in the middle of November 7 years ago, as things really came to a head, is when David Crowley gave him an ultimatum. It says, look, I'm giving you a deadline. December 16th, I'm moving ahead without you, whether you sign it or not. I'm going to make this movie. December 16th. And so we find out in the emails later that came to light with the FOIA requests that Danny August Mason did write back on December 16th and says, yo, bro, give me a call. We need to talk this out. Let's get this thing resolved. David says, nope, I'm not interested. You had the deadline. You had all these months to figure it out, and you didn't want to do it. That's why it's interesting that in less than a week later, the bodies are all found.
Well, I think it's pretty inconsiderate of David to just email him and say, hey, dude, like, screw you and everything you've done for me. I'm not even going to call you to tell you or meet you in person to tell you. I'm just going to email you. That's like text messaging somebody to tell them their grandparent died. Like,
exactly. And Danny said that he was going to get his lawyer to look at it. He wasn't going to sign anything without having his lawyer look at it.
Yeah. Yep. Like I said, I don't blame it. I think, Danny was going the legal way. And if Danny wouldn't have, said, hey, I'm going to have my attorney look at this and just kind of went quiet and wasn't pursuing it in a legal manner, but there's that evidence that, he was going to have his lawyer look at it. He did respond. And he did try to talk to him about it. And so trying to blame.
It's like you're dictating all these things without having a conversation. Well, you can do it on my terms then. Screw you.
It had something to do with that script. A motive to get that script in their hands. Remember, it's valued at $30 million. Now, the other thing with the professional hit, I'm going to jump back a step. You're going to get the person taken out, David Crowley taken out. You don't need, if David's waking up too much of the public, waking up and red pilling the population, there's no need for Kamel to die. There's no need for Rania to die. But what's the only reason you need to have all three killed is who's the heir to that script. If David owns a script and it's in his name and he owns it 100%, if you kill him, it's not going to do you guys any good. It's going to land in Kamel's lap. If Kamel's killed, it's going to land in Rania's lap. The only way they're going to get that script which they wanted and they ultimately took is if they kill all three. So they kill all three, it lands into the Crowley family estate, basically.
So you're still no better off.
Not a good guy in my mind. David Crowley's brother, who's not a good guy in my mind. David Crowley's sister, who doesn't have an impact in this case at all, I don't think. So you got to look at.
Oh, she did. She sent Dan Hennen one message once, 3 words. Fuck off, Dan.
Hell yeah.
David's father or his brother to help get that script? And the answer is yes. They were all buddies with Dan Sr., Dan Jr., the brother, and
they're not all buddy. These are friends who have been around each other, who have worked together for years, whose kids have grown up together. Like, he says in the beginning, oh, well, they weren't good friends. They were just work acquaintances. Well, but now they
were good friends.
Like, they
and
all
then David started changing.
Yeah.
And their friendship suffered.
Yeah.
And connected with the father. And so it was right away after the bodies were found, the murders were done. 3 months later, Danny August Mason, if you look hard enough and deep enough into not the crime itself, but into the motive. And what we found was that Danny August Mason had an attorney and filed for trademark and copyrights to the name the Gray State Universe. Created a company called Gray State Universe LLC. Created a Facebook group.
Okay, and they have a Facebook group called a Gray Stage, or the Gray Stage, and a YouTube, and an Instagram, TikTok, and a Rumble, and a blah, blah, blah. What's the difference? I think Danny August Mason would have more of a right to put that name on anything than anybody, including Dan and them.
Remember, he had to change the name. It wasn't Gray State. He had to put Universe on the end and make it an LLC. But he was getting the copyrights done with an attorney to start having all this so they could start going out and releasing this movie and revising the script and pitching it to new people. In my mind, if they knew it was worth $30 million and now they had it and David was out of the way, they could pitch it to any number of Hollywood
It was securing
executives.
it.
And here
It
we
was
are.
Danny Mason was securing it to make sure that none of people like him go in and nab it and steal it, like they basically have done by putting it all over the internet for anyone to read for nothing. So it's never going to get made.
Yeah. So basically, protecting the name and the brand, the Gray State, is what Danny.
Whilst all of the estate stuff and all of the legal stuff was going ahead, he had access rights. So working like with family and everything and stuff, put something in place to protect it whilst all the estate paperwork was going through.
Right. Well, that's completely understandable. I mean, most people do that. If you have people that have companies, they put their stamp on it, and if they pass away and the estate goes to someone else, that person is then responsible if they want to carry on the name or to protect the name of that so nobody else can use it, and had Danny August Mason not have done that, then what would have happened to that name or that word? Everybody and their mama would be using it for a movie now,
maybe even get $15 million deal out. David was a perfectionist. He wanted to keep the content the way it was. He pitched it to many producers and they said, we like the concept, but we're going to change how this ends and change how this begins and change the characters and change some of the thought processes. And David says, no, not interested.
No, he didn't.
Keep
That's
it the
why
way
he
it is because
rewrote
this
it.
is the way it's going to work. And everyone said no, and he said, that's fine. He finally found a
There's
group that
pictures
wanted
of
to
Kamel
keep it as
reading
is.
it after he's done an edit, and he said that he was up for like 36 hours doing an edit, and Kamel was reading through it. So how can he have not have done an edit? Because people were saying about changing. Hennen, you're lying.
Albeit bring in their own director and produce it. And director. David said, that's fine. I don't have to. I can step back. You guys take it and run. I want to keep it in its form, the way it is now.
Right.
I think the Gray State guys on the project, there's 4 or 5 or 6 of them that weren't really, number one, friends with David, were not close friends with David, did not have David's interest.
No, because you were, Dan. You know, you were there every waking moment. You watched him eat. You watched him sleep. You helped him take a shower like you do. Just so best friends, man.
At heart. And I think they wanted that to land in their lap for the hard work that they did to take it over and to somehow get that script in their hands and move forward and then make a movie. Now, I don't think.
Yeah, because here we are 7 years later. Everybody lives in different states. Everybody's moved on with their lives, have kids, they're married, whatever. Everybody's living their own life, and Gray State literally isn't a topic to them anymore. The topic is the only reason that it's even being brought up is because of their group. You know what I mean? Like, they're making the big deal out of it. If that's really what those guys wanted to do, if they wanted to knock him off to take this movie and run, would we not be here 7 years later without the Gray State movie on somewhere? I mean,
exactly.
There's your proof right there, you know.
I think these guys would have worried too much if the Hollywood producers would have said, we're going to scrap this and alter this and change this. They would have said, fine, we're going to cash in. Keep in mind, the guys on the Gray State Project team, one was unemployed, two of them didn't have a job. One was working as a...
You made no sense there. One was unemployed, two didn't have a job. Well, that's being unemployed, Dan. He's trying to sound professional, and he sounds like a bumbling idiot.
Part-time model, actor. One was a photographer. None of these guys had a source of income. No.
And how does Dan know this?
He doesn't.
How does he know these people weren't working? How does he know
He doesn't.
Didn't have things going on in their lives behind the scenes?
He doesn't.
So
and they did. They all had other things going on.
I mean, there's proof of the other thing. I mean, Danny Mason had a reel of videos that he was doing, or movies that he was starring in, or films, or whatever the heck it is. Like, that's what I don't understand. Where does Dan fall in the picture? Like, this matter of fact, know it all. Like, these people didn't have jobs. Like, how do you know all this stuff? You do. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Any substantial income. So they were riding David's coattails. They knew he was the next.
But David didn't have a job. David was riding Camel's coattails. And Camel even wrote about that in her journal, that she questioned the marriage. And Dan Sr. even said they had a spurt because Camel felt like she was holding them together financially. So how in the hell is all these other people riding David's coattails when David ain't got shit on his coattails to ride?
Exactly.
I bet any bit of income he was making on the side, like online work or whatever it was that he was doing, was going into the film.
Yeah.
Or for him to travel to go meet these people, or travel to go meet producers. That money wasn't going to pay his bills or help his wife care for his daughter. So how in the hell was anybody riding David's coattail?
The next big director. Hollywood was looking at him. A lot of movie productions were looking at him to possibly hire him. I had mentioned in my interview with one of the newspapers that came out that I kind of viewed him as maybe like a next Steven Spielberg kind of a guy.
I can't think of any other ones. I can't think of any other directors. I can't think of. I can't think of anyone other than the standard mainstream Steven Spielberg.
That's like that one-hit wonder movie, The Wonders, who did That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
What is that? The Wonders? Like, I wonder what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
You know, a next big name. So I think they purposely didn't have jobs. They held back and said, let's ride this thing out with David Crowley. Let's use him. Let's ride his coattails. And when he becomes famous,
everybody does that,
we all
don't
subsequently will make money. And then we can go do whatever we want to do. But we have to get this movie out there. And I think that's why the movie never made it, because they needed to kill him off, have the script
So
land in
with
their lap,
somebody
and it did.
else's fault, isn't it? It's always down to somebody else.
Yeah.
Dan Crowley Sr., the dad, and the son, and right away they started working with communication with Danny August Mason to put this into motion, to make it. And so this is evidence also of the motive and how it was worth it to kill.
No. Protecting the name so that way nobody steals it from David, and protecting the brand doesn't mean that that's a motive at all, Dan Hennen.
Because it also explains why all three needed to die. If the government hit was done on
now it's the
David Crowley,
government.
Well, I mean, he doesn't make any sense here, because he says that if it was a government hit, they would just knock David off because he's the only one trying to get the message out there. But if Kamel's left alive and Ronnie's left alive, the script.
But then he's saying it's the friends and the family, but now he's saying it's the government. What's it? It's the friends and the family because they were laughing at the funeral.
Yep.
they would have done it on David Crowley. It would have been a clean hit, assassination, hands wash, done deal. So what we get later is a year after the bodies were discovered, the Apple Valley police come out and say, you know what, we found out more about the case. There was a Muslim angle to the case. There was blood writing on the wall. And there was a note that says, open the Quran. And there's
Didn't say open the Quran. It said open the Rise latest version. Jesus Christ, Dan, you've been like studying this, research expert, for 7 years. And simple basic mistakes. It doesn't say open the Quran. The Quran was already open and on the floor.
There's a Quran laying on the floor. There's a message about the Quran. And on the wall, there is God is great.
Where was the message about the Quran?
There wasn't one.
There was no note that said open the Quran, and there was no message or note about.
You had the Allah Akbar on the wall.
Yeah.
And then in the office you had
Submit to
open
Allah.
the Rise. Yeah,
Right.
open the Rise latest version, submit to Allah now.
Alan.
Ew.
Alan.
Alan.
Alan. With the Alan Rich.
God is the greatest. Allah Akbar. Written on the wall in blood. So once again, a professional hit would not have gone to these extremes. Now it almost comes
Because
off
David's
as
not a professional killer, that's why.
amateurish, so to say.
Because
Because
Dan knows
it's
everything
trying
there is to know about killing people. He studies it.
push too many angles. And so that's when we kind of led ourselves down the path of it looks like it's an amateur triple homicide done by more than one person. But the true, correct definition of the word conspiracy. Two or more people coming together to plan a crime. That's a conspiracy. So in my mind, this
Like, just
Which is what Dan and Greg and Sophia and Kathy and Rick and Ross and Jamie and Eric and all of them are doing. Two or more people coming together to commit a crime of harassment, slander, you name it, they'll do it.
Yep.
Crowley triple homicide in Apple Valley, Minnesota was a conspiracy. It wasn't carried out by one person. It was carried out by more than one person.
Where's their DNA? If it was an amateur hit and there was more than one person, where is these other people's DNA? And that's the
Someone's going to have left a trace, aren't they? Someone's going to have left some footprints, shoe marks, hair, sweat, skin, blood in all this like fighting and everything that they're convinced went on.
There's literally no evidence of anyone else being in that house. Zero evidence. Zero. And they can't produce that. Like the Injustice Group can't come and say, hey, here's this other person's DNA. They try to use the bullet that rolled out of the rug after the cleaning crew was already there. That's contamination. You have a
Yeah.
cleaning crew, you have medical examiners, you have Apple Valley, you have the crime scene investigators. You have so many people that have been in and out of that house, walking around, pulling out the bodies, photographing evidence, and you have one bullet that's contaminated and says that there was more than one minor contributor. That's it. That's all. You don't find any fingerprints or any hair or any dead skin cells or any blood or anything from anybody else on the gun, on the bullets, on the bodies. There's no evidence of anyone else being there. But
No.
they fail every single time. They blame somebody to say, oh, well, here's their DNA, and we're going to blame this person, but there's no evidence at all that they were in that house.
And it wasn't a government hit. And it certainly wasn't a double murder suicide. So now we got things are more coming into focus, right? After this takes place, we start monitoring. The volunteers on our page started monitoring the good, close friends of David Crowley. And one by one, they all started moving out of state.
That's called stalking.
Yeah.
That's not. That's called stalking. That's a crime. You have people monitoring the family and the friends. That is called stalking.
They all moved out of state. They all left.
It's not a crime
I
to
think that
move
the
and
heat
get
was
on
getting
with
too
your
strong
life.
and had to leave. I think there's only one or two of them even left in the state.
Yeah, that's really weird.
They all left.
Why is it weird? People move. People want to get away from the nonsense. People.
One moved with work. One moved because their girlfriend had already moved and they were going over. In fact, one of them had already moved when this happened and then came back like to pay respects and all the rest of it and everything, but had already moved and had been moved for months.
But I mean, people are alive. They're living. Like, they don't
Yeah.
have to stop their lives because somebody died,
Left. And so what we think happened is there was a divide or a split with the group, and that broke them into half. And then half the group said, screw it. The other half says, we're going to make this and go and make the movie. Well,
yeah, but that's the hole in your story, Dan. Because if somebody was mad and they made a split like that, somebody's going to come back and talk. Somebody's going to come and get pissed and they're going to talk.
And the movie would have been made and been out by now.
Yeah. 7 years later, Dan, and you're still chewing and talking out your ass.
one of the volunteers on our page says the rights to that script go all the way through the year 2019. That no one can take the use of that script because he had it registered with the Screen Actors Guild. That script was registered
to a copyright.
And now we already have the trademark by Danny August Mason, the legal team, and the business is being created in the state of Minnesota to create Gray State Universe LLC using that script. Now we also know at the same time, those guys, or the bad guys, are monitoring our page for information. They're monitoring our group, our justice page for information. Well, we've already exposed the fact that they can't do anything with that script until the year 2019, June of 2019.
That was what, 2.5 years ago?
It's the Writers Guild is completely different to copyright.
Well, he's like, they
And the
can't do anything
copyright-
with the script until 2019. It's 2022. Dan literally
Exactly.
said this in 20. Well, they can't touch it until 2019. Well, honey, it's way past that.
They can't
What's
touch it
happening?
anyway because David's dad has got the copyright ownership of the estate of David, and so anything that is done has to go through him. No one can just go and try and file something and make a film of the Grey State based on David's Grey State because it'll be copyright infringement.
Yeah. Oh, man.
We've got the actual screenshot of the Screen Actors Guild certificate that David owns that. And then we see Gray State Universe go dormant. Nothing happens with it. Danny August Mason then moves himself and leaves and moves to Austin, Texas. I think at that point he knew he could do nothing with the script.
Yeah, well, and that was kind of smart of David to actually have it locked in, right, till 2019. He was definitely thinking ahead.
Well, it was
Misinformation.
2015 when the bodies were discovered, so he had that rights to that script for four more years. I'm not sure how all that works and the legality of it, but he was a member of the Screen Actors Guild, had the script registered. So Danny August Mason, if he would have pursued it and made a movie off it, he could have been later potentially sued by the estate or something because of that.
But Dan's here saying he doesn't fully understand all the legalities of it and the process of it. So why are you commenting on it? Because you don't know the process of it.
He does that a lot. He doesn't understand a lot, and he just still comments on it. Just like the note that said open the Quran, but it didn't really say that. I mean, he's full of it.
So we see that all diminish, and that goes away. Danny August Mason now goes back into his acting career. Sean Wright stays in town. Joseph Seaton moves out. Some other guys move out. It all seems to be, very goofy on how things all come about. And then what we see in the recent year or two here is opposing justice pages popping up on Facebook that are only out to attack our group.
Here it goes.
Not to bring new information, not to bring light to the subject.
Didn't bring new information. Who bought you the gun picture that you said wasn't real? Who's bought you loads of stuff that you're now using?
Yeah,
the
superimposed pictures. You have all of the evidence that's on our page. The post that I put up regarding the through and through bullet that Sophia stole, I literally that's why I got banned from the Justice Group for posting that article.
And asking questions.
Yes, I got blocked for that specific one. And Sophia posted it. Like, I posted it back in September. Sophia posted it the other day. That's the same post that I got blocked for. And she's not even looking at it herself, because if she would look to where it says DNA and what they use for parts of DNA, or what they use, the item that they use to get the DNA, or what they use to get the DNA, it says through and through bullet is blood and tissue. But she didn't even see that herself. Like, she's... how did I get blocked for that? But Sophia didn't get blocked for it. Like,
crazy.
I'm kind of confused there.
More of a propaganda group created to dismiss and discredit us. And so our main 4 volunteers on our page, we all take a big hit from this other
poor guy.
group and they're not going after a group as a whole, but individually to discredit us.
Right.
Well, individually makes you a group, and we go after you as a group. Well, we don't even go after you.
The so-called evidence that you're presenting that isn't evidence.
And the lies, like, that's what we're putting out. We're not going after you. We're going after your bullshit that you're putting out. Like, if you would tell the truth and straight with the evidence instead of lying and putting out your opinion and misinformation, we wouldn't have a reason to make a video and say, hey, this is what you screwed up here. The little thing didn't say open the Quran. It didn't say that. Like, that's why there's videos made about you, because you have to be corrected. You're giving out misinformation, and people are just running with that.
Exactly.
We have Dan here who started this whole thing. Then you have Greg and Kathy and Sophia and Ross and Jamie, all these people with YouTube channels. Now they're yanking their, whatever was said by Dan and them. They're adding their twist to it, and then they're putting it out. And then somebody else is going to pick it up and add their twist to it and put it out. And then you have a whole plethora of misinformation. So you people in Justice Group are the only ones to blame for the rabbit holes, the misinformation. And that's why we make videos, to call you out and call out the misinformation and put the actual evidence up. because we've already went through this video, and so many things have been pulled out and proven with the evidence that you're a liar. So don't lie, and nobody will have to make a video about you. It's that simple.
Right.
Dan
Exactly.
Hennen, he's an idiot. He's a loser. John Doe is an idiot. He's a loser. Jane Doe is
No, we don't do that. I mean, I do that because I'm just snarky. I add "you're an idiot" along with the evidence. But like, whenever we ask one of them to prove it with the evidence, they're the ones that use, "Oh, you're wrong. You're an idiot." Like, am I?
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly. You've
we can go
got,
through comments and find that. We'll ask
yeah,
them, "Hey, the evidence said this, evidence said that," and then they'll come back and they'll say, "Oh, look, here we go." I said, I don't know. Can you see the comment that I have pulled up? Yeah, there we go. All right. It
yeah,
says, I said, Planet X, you really are thinking you're someone. Just because you donate to a film doesn't make you a co-producer, moron. You seriously have issues. It means you're a supporter. That's it. So I talked about the case, and that I would have to ask the Gray State team if he was the co-producer, blah, blah, blah. And he said, also ask them why Dave fired them for being jobless losers while you're at it. So if they use these tactics, so they don't know what they're talking about. So
yeah,
they come back with the name calling and stuff.
exactly.
And you can go through all of their comments on all of their videos. Like, I put on here, David wrote all his passwords down. It was on paper. That's evidence. And
Yeah,
Star says, stop the spam. Go get a job. Okay. What do you have to say about the passwords being on paper? Like, you don't have an answer to that because you don't know what you're talking about. So your only kickback is, here, I'm gonna try to belittle you in any way I can.
an idiot.
yeah,
She's a loser. And so we're like, why would they be going out to try to discredit us? And so that's when this other group started to come in and really try to do what they could to shut us down, because they knew they couldn't shut us down. The only way now is to discredit our group. Now we're up to 3,900 members on the group.
and how many of them are active? About 20?
Yeah. Their little clique are the people that are active. And I can guarantee probably half are only there to, like, look at the ridiculous crap that they put out.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
can guarantee probably half are laughing at them.
yeah, and people look at it and then they disappear and you don't hear from them. In 2018, Catherine had posted, I feel I need to clarify things as my name is being associated with disinformation and speculation. I do not speculate on things. The things I state are facts. When I talked about the hand being removed by something sharp and smooth, that is evidenced by the autopsy report of David Crowley. It's located on page 2, last paragraph under the section titled External Examination. Now, I did medical transcription for years, but she said that she went to speak to Dr. Kelly to get medical knowledge, like to get the words translated. But if you did medical transcription, you wouldn't need it explaining. It was my own business. I was an EMT. I was going to nursing school before getting sick. I know several police officers, medical doctors, EMTs, a couple of coroners, a forensic psychologist, a forensic anthropologist, and a retired sheriff's deputy. When I put something on here, it will be verified with some of these people to make sure I am understanding what I'm interpreting. But then how come you have to keep making videos to say, oh yeah, I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, that was wrong. So I just don't want to have to feel it will be necessary to have to constantly state my experiences every time something is posted, because she's trying to be the authority, and people say, well, hang on a minute, what gives you the right to try and belittle me with my valid opinion when you're telling me, no, you're wrong, you need to do da-da-da-da-da. That's why people start asking for her credentials, because she seems to be expert in everything. Everyone is looking for answers, but to be honest, most of the problems I see is that too much time and effort is put into details that truly don't matter. The fact his radius and ulna are smooth tells you a dog did not chew the hand off. No, it didn't chew the hand off. The hand came off and it disarticulated. Therefore, the dog was chewing on the hand, the ulna and the radius are in the forearm. He wasn't chewing there. So that's why the bone's smooth, because it comes away and it's tendons and ligaments that are holding the hand bones and everything in place at the wrist. This begs the question, how did the hand come off? There's only one other way for that to happen. Someone took it off, and nothing with a serrated edge was used. This leaves one other option, something sharp. By process of elimination, one is left with the only plausible answer. All that's jumping to a hell of a lot of conclusions and stating it as fact.
Wow.
And that's why we call you out on it, because you aren't a forensic anything. You don't have all of these credentials and qualifications you try to make out that you do have.
Yeah.
And yet here you are undermining every professional that looks at this case going, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, that's not what Dr. Kelly said. I've got the posts. We've got the response from Dr. Kelly. He did contact you. He did tell you that's not what he said. And yet you still try and say, Dr. Kelly said this, Dr. Kelly said that, when Dr. Kelly didn't say no such thing. And that's why you get called out.
I mean, even Rick went to a vet to sit down and talk to this vet, and Kathy tries to discredit the vet before Rick can even get the entire thing out of his mouth. She's like, nope. No, well, did you ask him this? Well, did you ask him that? Well, did you ask him
Did you tell him where the hands were? Did you tell him this? Did you tell him that?
Like, why would he give out misinformation when you said, oh, we'll tell him, that Camille's hands were underneath of her body. When they weren't underneath of her body, they were crossed above her head, where the dog can clearly get access. There's a blanket. Dogs go underneath of blankets. You know what I mean? Like, dogs go underneath it there. So why was the blanket on top of Camille? Maybe because Paleo started licking at her while he was still alive, and David threw the blanket on top of her head so Paleo couldn't get to her at the time. But dogs can move blankets. Dogs can move stuff, and they do. So to say that, oh, well, that's impossible to have a blanket, blah, 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 blah,
Catherine was the basic EMT. She's tried to discredit and undermine people who are paramedics and nurses, active working nurses. And Catherine's then having a go at them, telling them they're wrong, yet they're higher qualified than Catherine ever was. Yeah. That tends to get people's backs up.
Yeah,
because they've studied. They deal with this. They have physical experiences. They've seen all of these things. Catherine, as an EMT, would be working under these very people that she's criticizing.
Yeah.
And that's what gets people's backs up.
Her being able to determine if somebody is depressed or suicidal or whatever, when nurse practitioners and even medical doctors won't even do that. They will send you to a psychiatrist. They can give it, and they can say, okay, well, I think this is what's going on, and they can give their opinion. But to actually diagnose depression or suicidal ideation or whatever, I know for a fact, because I take antidepressants, that my nurse practitioner wouldn't even touch it without a psychiatrist signing off.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even my regular doctor. I was like, well, can't we just get the signature from my regular doctor? Because I don't see the doctor. You normally don't now. You see a nurse practitioner, and then if it's a bigger deal, then you get to see the doctor. But if it's just a normal checkup, you go in and you see a nurse practitioner. And so that's what happens when I go in, and the nurse practitioner will determine, okay, if I need to see a doctor during that point. But when it comes to mental health, they will always send you to a specialist. Unless that particular doctor has that license of, mental health or whatever. But they are not they can give you their opinion and what they think it is. But to be diagnosed, you have to go to a specialist. And I highly doubt that there's any EMT with a license specialized for mental health. So Kathy is full of crap on that one.
Yeah.
And once the movie,
It may
the
be
Eric
4,000 now, Dan. I think it broke 4,000.
I think it just go over to
It
4,000?
did. It did.
And I want to say also big thanks, a shout out to the group running our page. I've taken a step back in monitoring it. We have such a good group of volunteers manning the page, taking on new members,
Giving out more
focusing on
misinformation.
getting the information out there that our membership is actually increasing. And so every time someone sees that movie on Netflix,
and it's not on Netflix anymore either.
Or that sucks for them because now nobody's going to be watching it on Netflix. So
Exactly.
that's the funny thing here, guys. Injustice Group, this is directed at you. You hate that documentary, okay? It's in your eyes, it's a sloppumentary. It's invalid, whatever. But now that it's not on Netflix anymore because you say it was so bad, who's going to come to your page now? Who are you going to lie to now?
Exactly.
There ain't nobody Netflix and chilling watching that documentary anymore. So who are you going to lie to now? Because everybody else has already heard a bullshit story and you change it 20 times.
Yeah.
So who are you going to throw this new shit line at?
And how many of these new people do you block as soon as they ask a question that you don't want to answer?
called the gray stage, a gray state. Sorry,
Yeah.
people watch the movie, they see it, and I think 80% of the people watch it and say, "Okay, no big deal. The guy's a nutcase. David Crowley did it," and they move on. The remaining 20% feel something's not right. Something in their head says, "I feel like I just been hoodwinked into something." It didn't seem. It was trying to lead me down a road to believe something, rather than just provide evidence. And so that's what that documentary did. And we get a lot of people from our page that join up that have an uneasy feeling after watching that documentary, that they just feel they've been blindsided or hoodwinked or propagandized into believing something that actually did not take place. So we've got a large membership base, but the fighting is still going on with these other groups that are trying to take us.
For sure, right? Like I was telling you earlier, I did a few interviews already with some of the members of the group, just because I wanted to. I always say this just to make it clear that I'm willing to hear both sides. I really do want to hear both sides, and I'm willing to talk to either side because I believe that I want to stay down the middle and actually hear what both sides think and what their evidence is. But to be fair,
But you won't talk to them.
as soon as I did a video, I never got so many comments.
Well, isn't that a good thing?
Saying one thing and doing it are two different things. And if you have a comment section full of misinformation, or you have a video put out with a ton of misinformation, you're saying you're down the middle, but yet you're not allowing the other side to talk. Then what are we supposed to do? Just not say anything in your comment section? I mean,
Exactly. If you don't want to talk to us, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But don't say that you want to be in the middle and you're listening to both sides, because the only people you've listened to is Catherine, Sophia, Greg, and Dan.
I mean, here we've been waiting for months.
We're not reached out to the family, reached out to the friends, reached out. It didn't have to be us. Could have reached out to anybody who believes David's done this and asked them why.
Yeah. But I mean, you have us that's been waiting for months to put our side out, and then Ross, this clown, pops up out of nowhere, and he's going to interview him tomorrow or today or something like that. Like, so
I don't know. I don't know whether he's interviewing him about this or whether it's about.
Yeah, it's about something else. It doesn't have anything to do with the case.
But it's still.
But still, you have people that have been waiting for months now to put out their side because you say you're down the middle. but you're skipping over the people that you're down the middle with. So doesn't that kind of contradict what you're saying, Rick? I mean, we've tried to be, you know.
And it's not like, we're not on there like attacking Rick. Granted, there's probably a couple of comments saying, don't say that you're in the middle when you're not even giving anybody from the David's guilty side an opportunity to talk, because of course you're going to get some saying, don't say you're in the middle. But all the other comments are not attacking you. You're a neutral ground to present both sides. You're presenting one side in video, we're correcting you in the comments. Don't have your comment section on if you don't like it. If you don't want any
you don't want
communication.
Stuff being corrected. You don't want stuff being corrected, and you don't want to give the other side an
But interaction in your comments gets your channels in the algorithm, so you should be grateful that we're actually wasting our time.
Absolutely.
Because we could just leave you to go into the gutter with all the other fake rubbish.
And I honestly believe, had it not been for the amount of comments that we put up, I mean, he had 10 views per video last time. Now he's averaging 400 some videos with 300 plus comments. I mean, if it wasn't for our commenting consistently, even if it is correcting the injustice group, you would be in the gutter still, down there where they're at. That's the reason they're still down there, is because they don't have their comment section open. They have us blocked.
Yeah.
And so, their views are going to stay down because they don't have the amount of comments. So complain, dude. I mean, we can stop and allow it to just go downhill, and not, we can come over here and pick on your videos.
Section after I did an interview with Catherine, they lit me up, it was crazy. So I definitely found out that there is, as you're saying, they are going after people who are trying to say that David didn't do this. It's not me just saying that.
Nobody's going after anyone. See, that's where his mutual ground and his I'm down the middle, it gets thrown out the window, because now he's trying to say that we're attacking them or basically going off on them because they believe one thing or the other. No, we're not going after them because of what they believe. We're going after them for the misinformation that they're putting out.
Yeah, and the fact is, the cold, hard fact of it is, it's all very well saying, we've got evidence that David didn't do this. This is touch DNA. This is multiple blunt force trauma. Well, guess what? It's diddly squat, because you haven't got a professional person who is saying that. Yep. And you need a professional person to say that. When you've got a professional person who will say it, you've then got verified evidence that you can actually do something with. But unfortunately, no matter how much Kathleen might want everybody to believe that she's this professional, she and her opinion and Sophia's opinion, just like our opinion alone, is not enough to open the case up and go, well, this should be open because I said that white hair is Danny Mason's dog. That is not evidence. That is conjecture and speculation. And that's why you get no response from any professional. It's not because there's any intimidation or anybody is frightened of anything, because everybody can see it. It's as clear as day. David did this, and the evidence proves he did it. And no matter how many times you shout from the rooftops, but he's got a smooth ulnar, it doesn't mean anything.
That's the only thing they could go on, is he has a smooth ulnar. Oh, good God.
And it's not fair wasting people's time, misleading them, thinking you got this whole big sheet full of evidence that you can go and give to a professional and get this case reopened, because you haven't. They're going to say, who's verified it? Well, Catherine said. Catherine who? Well, she was an EMT, but she's retired. But she's not a forensic medical examiner. Well, no, but she said she asked one. Well, I don't think she did, because there isn't a forensic medical examiner who's going to tell you that's multiple blunt force trauma when it's the inside of a skull with meninges and you can see animal scavenging and a linear fracture radiating from a bloody bullet wound.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
It's pathetic.
It is. It is. It's bad.
And if they if there was verified evidence that showed something was amiss, we'd support that in trying to get justice. But there isn't any. It's like, wake up and smell the coffee. He did it.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we're going to end today's video here because I got kids that are getting hungry and my voice is getting scratchy and the yucky is coming back.
So what time are we on the video, Mark?
We are at 1 hour and 4 minutes so far.
Okay. We're about halfway through it.
Yeah, we're halfway through it, but it's a lot of repeating over and over
It
again.
is.
We'll just kind of skip through the rest
there.
of it tomorrow, and hopefully I'll feel better tomorrow to be able to last a little bit longer on video. But
no problem.
Anyways, everybody
Still
out there,
progress.
Yep. Take care. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. This COVID isn't a lie. It's not a joke. It's real. But anyways, stay safe out there, everybody. Thank you, Louise, for hopping on today. With
You're
me.
welcome.
And everybody,
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Like and subscribe. Follow us on the Crowley Case Fact versus Fiction on Facebook and YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe over here. And make sure you check out Deep State Granny on YouTube as well. Everybody take care.
Do your own research.
Yes. Do your own research. Read the documents. Have a good day.